going to do a brief recap of what we studied yesterday. Where did we start? The name is will give so one. Maybe a review of orientation to our money. We talked about value, we talked about safety. We went to again see the examples and assessment, mitigation, and performance. And we went to characterize these, talking about risk, hazard, and also risk, stress, and we talked about actually the likelihood and the consequences. Very, very important. Okay, let's be all right, so the young ones that we started with orientation by management. And then that we looked at the five posture, right? And we said that the data strategy as includes the virus management is hinge on that first plan. So we have assessment, right? Mitigation and performance. So when we say assessment, what are we talking about? Assessing the risks. Identification of others and threats. You started with they are so we're still on that orientation. What would you say about performance? Performance, those indicators that one can or access and further education video okay, so we're looking at having access and good relation with space. So the purpose is actually we look at the overall whether people those education actually functioning the way they are designed. And then like I also help us to clear about it, the assessment system, and then the continuous improvement process. Okay, so I think in that contain the various risk management. That's basically that we cover assessment, mitigation, and performance. So that we don't work on. Now let's go to risk characterization. Okay. What is we talk about risk characterization? Yes.
So that we are able to know whether it's medium, low, or low. So we are now characterizing the risk. So depending on what it is, we now mitigation measures, actions to reduce the risk. Meanwhile, on the side, we have to evaluate the current control that we have to be sure that okay, are they okay? Are they we need to add more control? I will also later that the more you put on your control, you put more barriers, the better, the lower your risk because the barriers will be blocking the holes that are occurring. Right. But that is after your characterize the risk, so you can really know exactly the measures to put in place to reduce the risk. And you can now have a safe environment or reduce the virus spreading.
Okay. This right? So you have told us about consequences and let's look at that word risk. What is risk? You know, it is also very important because there are threats that are interchangeable. But there's need to actually look at it from the perspective of the definition. That risk is actually a function of likelihood and consequences. A function of likelihood and consequences. So she has also highlighted on one of the aspects we discussed, risk adverse, and then risk tolerance. Before. What did we talk about in mitigation? Mitigation. Mitigation is a strategy. But just give us a bit, okay. But we're not carrying on what you said. It's just about what I want. Good. Measures in place to ensure to handle the risk. Identify risk. Okay, so how many? What are those steps? What are those measures that were identified? We listed yesterday. Mitigation measures. Elimination, substitution, right? Engineering control, accident procedures, and then DPE. And then we also mentioned that there is a hierarchy of that, right? Is subject to exactly.
So it means what works in your facility may not be exactly the same in your own facility. So it depends on what risk that we have identified in our facility. All right, that's beautiful. Then we had the teaching on performance. What did we talk about in performance? I know somebody has made some comments about that.
Okay. We learned yesterday that performance is all about implementing the entire Biorisk management system, and especially looking at whether the system is working the way it was designed. And also, it was emphasized that with continuous improvement is very, very necessary as far as performance is concerned. And then,
No, you must not answer, you must not tell us all. So you just tell us what you want to do.
We also learned that supervision is key.
Supervision is key, okay?
Because you can give instructions, somebody will go and do what you like. So you need to continuously ensure that what you ask to be done is done. So from time to time, you need to go and check to ensure that that thing you ask to be done is done.
Yeah, also have performance indicators.
Indicators.
Yeah. Okay. Also ascertain from point A to B what we want to do. So on our first stages of those indicators as well.
Can you anyone of them? Okay. This is my deal. So I will be careful how I direct the Please, can we just listen to me? I said that performance indicators are tools, measurable tools that are actually put in place to assess whether the system is functioning the way they are designed to. Say, for instance, turnaround times are like in the lab. Turnaround time, equipment that can come, and then we have logistics system monitoring. That is when you have the stock out. Stock out is an indicator that the system is working properly. And if you have a long turnaround time, equipment that is an indicator that your response to the equipment in place when they are down, that means the system is also working perfectly. And when you're doing an advantage for all the especially in the kitchen of the system. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, it's easy to have a situation where nobody records when you have incidents. Then the speech is supposed to be when there's an incident, or maybe it's supposed to be documented as a tool and it was attended. So if we have only one skill, maybe 4 skills in a year, then following year we only have 2 skills. The third year we have only 1 skill, that happens at our work. So that if we are writing it down, documenting it, it's a way of monitoring what is going on the issue of skills and the contamination in the laboratory. And I think that can also help to be a kind of performance indicator that we are following our safety protocols. Okay, well, the problem is how can you measure it? It's supposed to be measurable, am I right?
No, this okay. Now the index of measurement, now that's a concern. Of course, in the facility, the ground rules should be there shouldn't be any speed, right? Yeah. So and then even when that is so, that's ordinarily there shouldn't be. It also now depends on what targets you have set in that particular. I call it done. And based on that, maybe someone may contribute to this. So if you have already established a building that got the middle space, and then for this year you had 4. I follow you. So by your own assessment now, something is wrong. Perhaps following what they've identified, the following year, the occurrence reduced to 2, right? And then you now have 1. That means you are improving. It's a control. Like initially, when you carry out this baseline assessment, and you discover that a particular area you are having more cases. So what you need to do is to make it your the key improvement project. So you set that as an improvement project. Now you can set it ahead, just like you say. You might decide to say, okay, let me just use a rejection, for example. You can decide to say maybe this case how rejection. And by standard, you're supposed to have 5%. You can make it up. So like this year, I am not supposed to have more than 5%. Depending on the incident or cases that are so I'm looking at the spirit. I said, the spirit is not supposed to have more than 2% in the year. So we have some cases that are going to become and quantify and see whether that family is going to. Just for example, maybe you can over the year you can make it quarter. During the first quarter, look at the percentage of the second quarter, then the third quarter. Then you know another the fourth quarter you are higher. Second quarter, depending on the measure of
Okay. I think we can only call it improvement if there are major improvements and you don't have reductions. But if, for instance, you have been having maybe 1,000 samples calling in, and that time you have maybe 5 samples, and suddenly something happens. The sample size reduced drastically, maybe to 50 or 20, and now I don't think there's any business with that. So it depends on the measure you put in, and giving that result, I'll say yes. Possibility you have trained or trained yourself.
We'll come back to this, sir. I think that as much as we'll be looking at the volume of sample intake of the facility, our attention here is actually the occurrence. I follow you. Yeah, because whether you're receiving 50 samples or 1,000, and then you ask me. The baseline, or what you've already established, is that in this unit, there should be, or we use 2% as a time estimation. So that becomes on this. Okay.
Okay, I want to talk about some tools for measuring performance. And I think one of them is incident reports. We have incident reports is a way of measuring your performance. And then the attendance is taken during training. And the number of times you have this attendance is also a performance measuring tool. And then if you have a number of certifications for a tool like safety cabinet, that over the year, it is a measurable way of monitoring performance over the years and the rest of it.
It's not for solution. Yeah, I think I can also make sure some of the downside. All right, so after we talked about when it comes to various management, and we looked at risk characterization, mitigation, and performance. We also had another module. We had good laboratory work practice. Good laboratory work practice. And we try to differentiate between good laboratory work practice and good laboratory practice. What's the difference between good laboratory work practice and good laboratory practice? Yes. He said, we try to talk about good laboratory work practice, and then we try to differentiate good laboratory work practice from good laboratory practice. I'm asking, who can the difference between them?
Everybody was said that what I say yes, right. This is that good laboratory practice is like the more broadened rules that may not see things like generally for every laboratory work. You do this, you do this, you do this. Good laboratory work practice. We're talking about the situation where there's a particular risk and there are stipulated measures that will be taken to ensure that that particular risk is remediated. So it's very specific what we are doing, what is required to be done, to solve that problem. So I'm talking about good laboratory is going to vary from place to place. But the good laboratory practice is a generalized rules.
Okay. I call it good. All right, so he has said, you know what we are referring to good laboratory practice as like standards. Across standards, right? Okay. So I thought you were ready. Just to add to this, good laboratory practice, just like you say, putting all the necessary standards, like including your SOP through the organization, standard flow of information and how you work and perform accurately to yield the desired result output. While the good laboratory work practice is the enforcement of some of those measures to mitigate to enhance the mitigation of any issue or hazard or threats that may arise as a result of the work to increase them. Okay.
Focusing on the lab practicing directly and the quality. But good laboratory work practice focuses on those and also refers to how we can the practices we can put in place to protect the environment. Yeah, so it's a bit broader than the good laboratory practice.
Did you hear that? Just read that good laboratory work practice. Okay. So which one is more? It's more robust. Good laboratory practice is more robust. This is very important. I know when I got the question, many of us started looking at them. So we need to differentiate that. Good laboratory practice is actually the broader aspect. While the good laboratory work practice, actually has to do with those specific practical, enforcement that you have to, take or perform while you are handling maybe abuse processes, or just to ensure that identified risk in the facility is minimized, eliminated. There are some specific things or specific ways to carry out procedures and all that. So that's what we're talking about, good laboratory work practice. The operating phrase there is the work practice. Work practice. So we try to look at let me just say, what other thing we want to say about what we started in good laboratory work practice? One, what can you remember? I say, what can you remember? Yes. And good laboratory work practice. Okay, so it is also we ensure that safety, continuous safety. Any other thing?
I just say that in ensuring that there is good laboratory work practice, there is an aspect of enforcement of procedure and what like SOPs, yes, adherence, and our facilitators emphasizing three things: you can encourage, you can support, and you can enforce. So those are critical to ensure that the personnel comply with the rules.
So we can encourage, we can enforce, and we can support. I know yesterday we did an exercise, and then we posted some things under encouraging, and then the support, etc. Okay. All right. Table 2. What next? Is there anything else to talk about? Good. Yeah. Also includes protecting the environment. Now, are there challenges that we identify? Barriers. Good. What are some of those barriers? Okay. If we talk about things like management buying, okay, fatigue. So these are barriers. Poor funding, sabotage. Okay?
lack of training.
We should come in. No morale. Yeah. You're all good students. But now come, it's like we forgot this aspect. I say it's like we forgot this aspect of we're doing. Any other thing that is funny.
It's the responsibility of everybody, not that of the government or the management. Everybody is responsible.
So that everybody is responsible.
We also look at the safety measures generally
Okay, we try to look at the safety measures. Okay, can we just elaborate? Like no eating in the lab,
no makeup.
no makeup.
Sleeping.
No, you can wake up before entering the
So proper use of PPE, right?
yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Attire man. Lupaco. Catarina. Thank you very much. I invite the president. Oh, I collect everything. Thank you very much, Capitalista. Another. Give you the name of the time. So, I think the review we just had set the tone for the modules for today. Because today we are going to cover two modules. One is on engineering controls, and the other one is on standard operating procedures, SOPs. So, without much ado, before we go on, it is in our character to ensure that all the things that we do every day will add cumulatively till the last day of the training. So we want, therefore, that every morning the class governor and the deputy governor will ensure that all the flip charts that we used the previous day or days will remain on display on the walls. That is a veritable way of revising once you come to the class each new day, or even in the course of the presentation every day. So please, the class governor and the deputy governor, they will indulge us to ensure that all the work that we did yesterday remain on display. I believe we have enough paper tapes. They won't take those ones are already becoming weak. Thank you very much. Now, the second thing is that it was announced earlier when we came for the evidence that the photographer will be here between 10 and 11 o'clock this morning, so that we'll be able to take the official group photograph. Just for us to address our minds to that. Over to engineering controls. Now, we remember that yesterday, while we were reviewing mitigation measures, we did mention that one of such measures is engineering controls. It means, therefore, that this module is an expansion of that aspect of mitigation controls that we covered yesterday. It is still going to be participatory, but before we continue to participate,
let us take note of our learning contract. For every module in this adult learning pedagogy is that we must have a learning contract. As this is the first of the substantive modules that we are covering, I need to emphasize on this, that your KFD is very paramount. KFD is no field trip. It's very, very important. We want you to be able to address your mind to what will you like to know. Many of us work in the laboratory setting or in the field. Now in the laboratory, in clinical labs, in research labs, in diagnostic labs. But with respect to this training, what are those things that you feel that you think you don't know and you would like to know? Or you knew before, but you think you have forgotten part of it, that you will now like to know better, or you didn't know as much as you are supposed to know. At the end of the module, which will be by the time we are going for lunch, how would you want to feel concerning this particular approach? How would you like to feel? And then the third one, regarding engineering controls, what would you want to be able to do, especially with respect to your facility, or what to do on a daily basis? So it is after we have covered the module that we will proceed to the bottom part of what you have, the chart on display. That is, what more do you need to know, and so on and so forth. But for now, we will confine ourselves to the first part. Yesterday, I had a request. Somebody asked for job time. And I said, we will provide it later. But at the later time that I was supposed to provide it, it occurred to me that even though it is good for us to have jotter, for rough jottings, it is actually more advisable for you to write everything you want to write on your student manual. Are you with me? So that has therefore been the overriding thought why we have not gone ahead to provide the jotter. Apart from the fact that it is not in our lineup of supplies for this training. We were encouraged, and we have been encouraging our trainees. We have been encouraging our trainees to always write everything on their student manual. We are not happy to see you keep it neat. No. Because soon after this training, we expect that you yourself will either go and step down the training in your facilities, or that you yourself will become trainers. And like I said, there are some of us who are also participants today and are already trainers. So we want you to jot those things there down. So the first thing you are going to jot this morning is the learning contract. What would you like to do? Write it there. Set target for yourself. Set goals for yourself. The next thing is, how would you like to feel? Now you notice that in front of each box, the next box is empty. Like in the case of the node, the box next to it is empty. That is where you are expected to write. For the field also, the next box is empty. That is where you are expected to write it. The same thing for what you want to be able to do. Please, I will give you 2 minutes. But for you to write contract. So today you might see the facilitators going around, of course, as trainers to ensure that you are actually doing what we ask you to do. Okay, like somebody has not written anything. Okay, it's still meditating or what to write. Okay, Dr. Kunade, you are doing well. Dr. Adamu, you are doing well. Vicky, you are doing well. You are going to finish that. So you are doing very well. Okay, Doc, you are doing well. I have you are doing well. That's what I'm doing. She's doing well. Okay. So we have to ensure that this is done because at the end of the module, for the lower part of it, you are going to be on your own. Okay. Thank you very much for complying. So, of course, you also have the key messages on your manual, and they are just as they are. So, for the sake of time, I'm going to advise you to look through the key messages. The slide we have on display has already been explained to the extent that engineering control is part of mitigation. Okay. So we can fly past the others. And what we want to do now is to underscore the point that one of the aspects of mitigation is actually containment. It is key to mitigation. And this is a primary purpose that engineering control achieves. So the question is, what is containment? What is containment? I don't want textbook answer. No textbook answer. No student manual, no participant manual answer. That is, as you are thinking of it in your own heart, how do you understand, or what do you understand containment means? So we are going to give you, it is time for you to embrace your charts, few charts, to write for us in your groups what you understand containment to mean. So we don't want anybody to be giraffing anybody. So, your brother, please help us to give one chart Okay, no, let us not do that. In your group, you are going to have a representative, but your group will take the next 3 minutes to compare notes between yourself and arrive at a definition for containment. That your representative will now come out here and come and write in. You understand? Okay. So, another one of us have, we have our speaking notes, isn't it? You can use it to do your work. You have just 3 minutes. We can't take up to 5 minutes. Again, I will be going around the groups. Discuss the definitions in your group and put down a representative definition that a member will tell the host. You have 1 minute more. By now, I expect you to have selected your speaker. The person is going to speak on behalf of the group. Okay, so where is group 1? No, wait, don't write anything here to. Okay, yes, right. But the title can be life size. So that we don't want the plan right now. Question mark after. Okay, so we know that we are asking questions. Thank you very much. So group 1, you will write with Group 1, you will write with black ink. Group 2, this group 2. Okay, group 2, you will write with green. Yes. No, you are not going to test it. Group 3, you will write with the you will write with blue ink. Which ink remains?
Red.
Okay, so you write with red. And then group 5, we write with black. Yes. So we will give them black paper. Okay, so now, please, I want each of the representatives to write on their feet. Yes. Please come here. You cannot change anything after this meeting. Yes. You cannot change anything. Please come and stay here. So group 1, write your own. Must be very brief. No long story. Please draw it back. We've already joined like 3 different. Okay.
Now that you are blocking the camera. Okay.
You talk to group 1, your time. Yes, sir. All the groups are going to use the same page. Yes. I hope I'm permitted to put together the second line. Yes, you are permitted. Thank you, sir. So maybe this is the sort that we.
Last line. That's the last line.
Our representative
It's already there.
But what they want to if they wish to do the
Okay. So that's before you proceed. I think that's fine.
Use 4 lines.
no, let it do 5 lakhs. Everybody,
No, 3 lines.
3, not 4.
are carrying out exercises in the class, you only use when you are giving one word or two word answers for eligibility.
Sorry. Why do that together? Oh, no, that we are writing. Okay.
No, you can't. You can't. So, because you use your hands to write those things. Group one, what did you write? Present it to us.
Okay, for group one, our definition for containment is a restriction. We have three major words: restriction of pathogen within a defined boundary, which could be a laboratory, it could be a cabinet, or a refrigerator.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Group two.
Group 2, by our own definition, we say that it's any physical barrier which exists to neutralize infectious agents in order to prevent exposure to workers and later release to the environment.
Okay. And the keywords there.
The key was then the barrier,
Okay.
and then infectious agents and the environment.
Okay, thank you, sir. Group 3.
Barriers to prevent the spread or escape of infectious agents and toxins.
So that
So the key words here are barriers.
Come forward, please. And as you're reading here, thank you.
Barriers prevent escape or spread. They can escape through.
in fact, it's like the whole of all the words in the definition. Okay. That's what I okay, that's very important. Thank you very much. Group 4.
On our own is the capacity to bring something harmful within the control limits.
The capacity to do what?
To bring or put, let's say to contain something harmful.
No, okay. Maybe you want to bring, then you cannot contain. Okay. To bring something. What is the something?
An agent.
Harmful agents. What is written there? Harmful to that way you said that.
Yes, harmful.
That's a pretty good idea.
Something harmful.
Yes, sir.
My question is, what is that something?
Everything that presents risks.
Anything
That has the
potential
potential to cause harm.
okay, that have potential to work. So I'm thinking in line of a laboratory setting.
Yes, sir.
So you'll be thinking therefore in terms of a biohazard.
Yes, sir. Let's say, for instance, an organism.
Like an organism, okay, that is harmful
Yes, that has a
or is
potential.
potentially harmful.
Yes, sir.
Okay, within what?
Within the control limit.
Within control limit. So I'm actually thinking, what is that control limit?
In such a way that, yes, in such a way that it cannot live in a particular environment the item is kept to where it's not supposed to be.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, what we are talking about is restriction of a biohazardous agent.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Group 5.
Intentional prevention of exposure to particular hazard.
Intentional
Prevention
of
exposure to particular hazard.
how is that prevention carried out?
We don't want to. We want to leave it open because it cuts.
In fact, that's actually the problem I have there. Because you left everything open. Let's hear it from the time.
Why we left it open? Because it can be in the lab. It can be because I think yes.
So my worry actually is that it is too open to be specific. You understand? So I'm thinking in terms of, since we are talking about laboratory setting, remember that yesterday, while we were having the opening session, we did say that we could think about biorisk management with respect to the field, with respect to the laboratory setting, but that our primary focus in this training will be the laboratory setting. Even though we know that we could draw examples, we could draw instances from other settings. You understand? Just like many of the things we said yesterday were applicable, we found out in the field, in environmental, So in this kind of definition, therefore, we will expect that you are thinking in terms of a structure. You understand? In terms of a structure, in terms of a device. You understand? Or even in terms of a design. So long as it is going to restrict the movement or the spread of the biohazardous agent. That's why I was saying that it is too open to be specific. In this, we want it to be more specific. Thank you very much.
Is it possible in the field, for example, your laboratory can be an extension of the field?
It is possible because you can also create restrictions.
Yes. So in that case, if you have a biohazard bag in the field, for example,
yeah,
that's why it is left open, because the general idea is whatever means you want to use to prevent a potential hazard.
Okay, we can borrow a leaf from the definition of group 1, because group 1 is even saying e.g. laboratory, cabinet, refrigerator, etc. We can also infuse the examples in order to clear our mind.
But in our case, we left it open.
Yes.
So you can apply it to it.
Yes. So please, what is that? I was planning that we want to adjust your mind to the fact that, yes, we agree with you that it's an intentional prevention, of either release or access to the pathogen or the agent. But it is good for us to think in terms of devices, in terms of structures, and so on, or even designs that are made in order to achieve that prevention or restriction. Thank you very much. So we can go to the next exercise. Yes, sir.
Then, in the definition of containment, you have any particular time when you can, or you have written it to be that way?
No, it's not. It's not the way you have written it. Exactly. You know, when we talk about definition, we are talking about an operational statement that will guide your understanding or your use of that particular statement. So when you talk about definition, therefore, it is actually design or device or other such processes that prevents the spread or movement of biohazardous agents away from the immediate area of use. What you are doing in containment is simply to keep it within limits, like we saw there. So what we are trying to do therefore is to say that all of the definitions you have raised have elements of correctness and alignment with the basic definition of containment. However, we can pick from each one and get the complete picture, which is what I'm. Thank you very much. Okay, please, we can remove the. Okay, so in the next one, again, since we now understand by going through the process of going through the thinking process of arriving at the definition of containment. The question for each group is, what engineering controls are found in the laboratory to help achieve containment? This, we are going to use sticky notes and our marker pen. Identify the engineering control. One engineering control on one sticky note. We are going to do it group by group. Please, group one, use pink sticky notes. Yes. Group two, use lemon sticky notes. Group three, yeah. Please use yes, pink sticky notes. Okay. Which one remains? Orange. Okay. Group four, use orange sticky notes. Group five, I use yellow sticky notes. Thank you. We will harvest the responses in the next 3 minutes. We will harvest your responses.
What about the structures of the lab? You know, like in the molecular lab, you can see general lab, we will not say bacteria, and also yes,
Okay, please, can we stop working? So that group one will not be at disadvantage. We are going to start harvesting. Please, let's stop working. Thank you for all that you have done. Group 4. Only one person to present to us, not the same person that presented before. The other person in the group. Yes. No, before you speak, tell us what you have read. Please, everybody, don't start here, John. Okay. Please, like we say in the classroom exam, hands up. No group rights again. Yes, no group rights again. We are starting from group 4, and then group 3, we follow, and then we go to group 1. Okay. Then we go to group 4, group 2, and then group 5. No, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be, so that somebody does not preempt what the facilitator is going to do. Yes. Okay. So, group 4. Tell us what you have for your spectacle.
Thank you so much. We have a certified safety cabinet.
Certified
Safety cabinet. 2. Incinerator.
Let us put our safety cabinet. Please let that one out.
There are some of these safety cabinets that are even add to the hazard. Yes, because some of them are.
It is not that you are wrong, you are right, but we want to save the details because whether it has been certified within the limits of time. Yes, sir. Autoclave.
Yeah. Incinerator.
Incinerator.
Yes, and we have access control.
Okay. Access control. Any particular thing about the access control. For example, if you are in Nigeria and you even put door that has lock, it's an access control.
We need to restrict movement. Either putting padlocks, security gates, and fences, and so many other things.
Okay. So now you see, no, you see, when you talk about access control, you cannot be talking about the CCTV camera. The CCTV camera does not prevent access.
No.
It always tells us when somebody access the facility. Okay. You just want to restrict movement. So just like movement restriction, like doing environmental sanitation. Okay. Anyway, thank you. Just hold it like that because soon you will want. Okay, you can go and speak it directly so that we can relate. Yes, group 3. I hope the group is like to know. Okay. Let me tell you, when we had the ABRM in Port Harcourt last year, we discovered that there was a group that would be waiting for people to start. Where is my people? Yes, sir. Yeah. Card readers. Okay. For access control. Okay. What was the last one you mentioned? Okay, keys and locks. Or we just put locks. Yes. Yes. Which is correct, but that once there is a lock, there must be a key that will come out. Isn't it? So the lock already. Yes. Okay. Thank you. We can go and place it. Which group is next? It's not one. It's group 2. It's group 2.
Okay, we have facility cabinet.
Yes, yes.
We have laminar flow.
Yes.
We have biometric doors. We have passports. We have antel room.
We have passport.
It's like a key that you put number.
Okay.
Then we have emergency shower.
Emergency shower. Okay. So explain to us how that works.
Emergency shower. So achieve contain in case you are exposed.
So how will the emergency shower now help us to achieve containment?
And if the device we can go into the shower.
So in other words, what I'm talking about is shower.
Yes.
You understand? So whether it is emergency or not,
okay.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
How is that one direct control? Because the laminar flow is here. So how is that direct control?
It's control because it's being pattern to a particular flow. It is
not only that. If I'm at Now, when you talk about laminar flow, you are talking about a device that dictates a direction of flow. And that actually is an engineering design, isn't it? So that's what we are talking about. Like you are making a preparation under a roof, isn't it? Where even before you continue to work, you test where is the direction of flow of air, isn't it? So that you want to be sure that not going to do that with water, but it flows out. Or because we have something like at the minimum.
Yes.
Okay.
The laminar flow issue.
It's minimum.
Yes.
But it comes in,
it can be
and it is also part of containment.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Limiting. Anyway, that's become under. All right.
So we have each back.
Now, let me, for the avoidance of doubt, what we are doing, lots of other groups have listed. So it is good for us therefore to integrate things. Please continue. Sir. All right. Thank you for not prolonging it anymore. Okay, so group one. Okay.
And surveillance camera.
Perimeter fencing.
Yes. Yes, surveillance camera, security personnel, lock and keys, access control doors, identity cards, metric access.
Group three also CCTV. So the surveillance camera is the same as CCTV camera. Okay. Identity. So how is that an engineering control? Since can we have one now? They want to tell us how identity card is how an engineering control. Identity card, yes.
Yes, sir. For the person, I would allow person access to certain areas.
That's like an access.
So it's an access
It's an
card.
access card. It's identity card. So TH, no, please use access card and not identity card. In other words, remove the sticky note that has that identity card.
We have packaging code.
Packaging code.
Yes, sir.
That is also engineering control.
Yes, sir. So we don't have to write the name of the package, but it's coded, and we have the coder for only the staff.
Okay.
What code?
So is it the coding or the decoder that is the engineering control?
The decoder, the coding and the decoder.
No. You see, let's get this. Sorry?
I said, was that code?
No, you have code. It is because you have a decoder that you generate the code.
You have a code, then you now decode the code.
What do you use to decode the code?
The knowledge that you have coded something.
Okay, it is the knowledge.
Yes, sir. Now,
so that knowledge is engineering control. Okay. Let's have one out.
For brucellosis, we have code 001. We have made code brucellosis code 001 in our lab.
Yes.
Now we now want to decode it. There's a document which actually interprets that code.
So that document, is it an engineering control?
Yes, sir.
The document. The code.
Yes, sir.
It's an engineering control. But it is a document. Is it a device?
Yes, a device.
Wait, is it a device?
For coding.
Yes.
You may have coding device that is electronic.
That's where we are driving.
Or you may have it as a document somewhere. So that document is not
okay.
We are talking about that device that is
I want us to get it very correct. If you had a particular equipment that helps you to decode what has been encoded, that particular equipment is the engineering control.
That's what we're saying.
But you said it's a document. If it's a document, it's not an engineering control.
Yes, sir.
That is the point. Yes.
If you have codes, you may have a document to decode. That's not what we're talking about. That's an aspect. But if you have code and you have a device that decodes, many of times when we go to some shopping malls, they just speak one item, they decode, the decoder
is something, I mean, a device code. That's code.
I see that they are taking a lot of effort. Yes. They are making a lot of effort to explain this. That is to tell you that there is no free form for the issue of coding that you have just mentioned. The coding itself is not an engineering control. We need to let that sink. An engineering control, we say, is a structure, a device, or a design. Yes. Are you with me? Yes. Because after the design, it translates to an equipment or to a particular physical structure. If your decoder you are referring to is not a machine, if it's not an equipment, if it's not a physical structure, then it is not an engineering control. Yes, sir. Equipment can code. I agree with you. Okay, if a supermarket, for example, because I thought that was the example we were going to raise. You get to the cashier, they bring the particular item you have picked for the shelf and brings the equipment to read what is there. You understand? It is not what has been pasted on the particular item you bring for the shelf. That's an engineering. It is the particular equipment that they use to do this. You understand? Yes.
So, bro, that's what we're actually saying.
Okay, let's continue. So, go and stick the correct ones. Don't put that code. Don't put that code. Thank you. No, group one. Group five, rather.
We have proper waste disposal systems like incinerators, like autoclaves, and treatment plants, waste treatment plants. We also have self-controlling systems.
Somebody has mentioned autoclave before. Yes. Well, go ahead.
And we have self-controlling systems like self-opening doors, like self-blowing taps, like self-operating alarm systems, and the rest of it. We also have BSC, fire safety cabinets. We also have directional airflow, having operating system. Yes, directional airflow. We also have appropriate facility design, having ante-rooms and
ante-rooms.
Yes.
Fixed ante-room.
Okay.
I forget the details.
Okay.
Sorry.
So that's what purpose-built facility.
Purpose-built facility. Again, that is true. That is very open. I think group 5 is that used to open. Okay, so that praise this for us. Thank you very much. I come out for everybody. Now we have quite a number of those stuff of engineering controls that we expected that we have been covered. They include building ventilation systems. Okay. You have mentioned access control, traffic flow patterns, even hands-free control systems. For example, customers mentioned automatic doors, so that you don't have to touch any hand. Okay. Yes. Autoclave, locks, alarms, card readers. Nobody mentioned HEPA filters.
We mentioned it.
I didn't hear it.
No, what we see is about
HEPA filters. Okay. All right. Okay. Fume hood, we mentioned that. We're talking about laminar flow. We mentioned doors. You know, I was trying to emphasize dogs for one of the groups. That it's not just about the dog and the lock. Yes, it's good to have dogs that have locks. But the mere fact that you have dogs, you have already controlled access. Because even if there is no dog there, that can also be personnel of the lab that will be managing the dogs and permitting or otherwise those who want to enter through that door. Okay, so somebody mentioned airlock. Airlock. I think it's airlock. That's correct. Yes, sir.
There are some doors without locks.
No doubt. And there was no man, manning the door.
Well, there was no man manning the door. Because it's a source of threat.
No, we understand that very well. We understand that very well. You see, in such instances, you don't need only the door. The door is there is no law. But if, for example, there was a CCTV camera, they can monitor who goes in and who goes out. So even though it's not going to stop somebody from accessing the facility through the door that was not have law, but it can take record of those who access that particular at such and such a time. You understand?
But now, not very. I was listening to Eric. Eric was saying that the CCTV are in there. He wasn't close for me to ask him why.
Oh, okay. it's because the CCTV cannot arrest. They can only be to arrest. I mean, let me tell you, what Eric said is even too far. At Barcelona Hotel in 2018, I live between Abuja. Otherwise, it's like, I didn't want to mention it. Somebody came right into the hall and took 2 bags. One of the bags happened to be somebody's bag. Containing his laptop and some other valuable. And then, where that concerns the CCTV is this. We went to the CCTV control room. We saw the footage. We saw the person who took it and what time he took it. Up to today, we have not found the bag. That would be the kind of instance that Eric was about. The CCTV is useless. It is only useful to the extent to which recovery is made.
President, I still have the video.
I was offended that you are a strong man. That you always want to remember how you want to slow the never become man.
If you watch the video of the Abraham very close to so sometimes you begin to wonder. That's it in the whole context here.
Exactly.
Since you are not there. But if you have someone,
not only that, if there was somebody who was monitoring the CCTV, that's why the CCTV is monitoring. Exactly. You have to watch it. When you are watching it, you can know who has done something that is wrong at the particular time. Exactly. Okay, so I never saw somebody mentioned anti-room. Very, very good. And we can go on and on, but there is one thing that we also determine which is important. That's code flooring. Code, C-O-V-E-R-D. Some kind of flooring that is not smooth. Are you with me? Yes. Most of the flooring we have, they are smooth, but there are tiles that have surfaces that make it not harsh to you, but at the same time prevent splitting. I would say that's the kind of it's part of the building structure. All right, thank you very much. I think we can proceed. Okay. For our context, I have a summary of our certain level 1 to 4, which I can share with the group. We have our certain level 1 to 4 on the basis of the agent that is handled and the complexity of work that is carried out in that facility. Of course, the lowest level is DSL1, in which case work is carried out with non-pathogens. And then containment is minimal. Containment is what? If any at all. Only that we can still not talk about not having any at all. Because you can have even in the DSL1, you can have laminar flow. Even in the DSL1, you can have ventilation system. Even in DSL1, you have access control to the main laboratory as well as to the prep rooms and so on and so forth. And of course, you will still be required to use the minimal level of PPE. Okay. But you actually do not have to have the sophisticated control. Go on and graduate to DSL2, in which you have standard work with pathogens. Pathogens, that is the organisms that cause diseases. Of course, you go to DSL3 based on the level of complexity and the violence of the pathogens. People want to fall.
Yeah, I just want to, because we're really non-pathogen.
Yeah.
Then there's still with standard pathogen. Well, there could be a still have opportunity pathogen. I mean, somebody walking in this area and go to the other side. The tendency of carrying this pathogen to where it's not supposed to be. And because of that, so I think there should be more demarcation between the DSL1 and 2.
I was looking to that, sir.
Yes.
Your thought is not out of whack. In fact, it is properly in place. But I was going to say that who understand. Sometimes we are handling a small animal in a teaching lab, for example, a cat. Okay, but you find out the cat actually makes a droppings. Or okay, the one that has happened recently is a small rodent. I don't know if you know porcupine. That is a small rodent that has fat. Okay, we have had to bring it to the laboratory, and then we had the droppings. And then somebody in microbiology got interested in the droppings and wanted to find out what exactly does it contain. The result we got later was actually that we had such things as some other microorganisms that were pathogenic. Now we were dealing in what you would call a DSL1 laboratory. But now you have a situation where the animal were dealing with the drug. Now, that is to sometimes take what Prof said. So sometimes, therefore, it is not just about the design of the structure. It's about what we are actually handling in the laboratory. But you see, I came yesterday with some books. I did, for example, the WHO Laboratory for Safety Manual. Okay. Now, that was the third edition. In the fourth edition, which is the current edition of the WHO for Safety Manual, it does not actually recognize the safety level. The reason is that there is no consensus among various countries of what to constitute DSL2 or DSL3, DSL3 or DSL4. You understand? The most important thing is that your laboratory has to be equipped to contain the pathogen that you are working on. And that's why people have it. But like I said, for the purpose of our records and understanding, I'm going to share with us later the summary of what I expected for us to have in this biosafety levels. Now, we need to also take note that apart from these biosafety levels, we will also have animal containment levels. Animal containment levels. Again, depending on the pathogens that are associated with such animals. So the animal containment levels also are recognized up to 1, 2, 3, depending on the organism that are associated with such animals, but related to what is to be contained. And that is it. Thank you. Okay, let's mention this. So, this is a good question. How can we achieve containment? How can we achieve containment? We have 3 major ways. Administrative controls, practices and procedures, and then the one we are talking about, engineering controls. Okay. Of course, we can have primary containment barriers and then secondary containment barriers. The primary ones is just as it's written on this slide. They contain the agents at the source, and that means like DSCs or other ventilation equipment, including the flow hood, animal isolation cages, I mentioned this here for us, and then specialized lab equipment that contains the pathogen. Now, in secondary containment barriers, they include the protection of personnel and environment in case of a release of primary containment. And those include like architectural features of buildings, facility, mechanical systems, just to, maybe support what you have in terms of primary containment building. Now, I will want us to not to go through this exercise, but we can go on ventilation equipment. I think what is one ventilation equipment. Okay. So, sorry? Okay, that is why it is good for us to have this charts. What happened? One group did not place their own here.
No, they use, 2 groups use the same color.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, we have mentioned about safety cabinet, talking about ventilation equipment. We have mentioned laminar flow. We have mentioned, okay, we didn't talk about chemical fluid because we are talking about organisms. Okay. Okay. Now, these are the various examples of ventilation equipment. Now, talking about filtration systems, our focus will be on HEPA filter, high efficiency particulate air filter. In essence, is the high efficiency, because they're talking about the filtration system that will have up to 99.97% efficiency, like we have in the aircraft. Yeah, that as much as possible, nothing was escaped from it. That's why it is helpful. Okay. So it means also that the size of the particles is also very important, up to 0.3 microns. And 1 micron is 1 over 1 million millimeters. That is extremely fine particle. Extremely fine particle. Okay, now this is talking about engineering control. We have just mentioned in terms of the size of the particulate matter. We need to know that we will not be talking about volatile chemicals. We will also not be talking about gases that are devoid of particulate matter. But if the gas is carrying any particulate matter, it is expected that if it is up to 0.3 micron, then the HEPA filter, if it maintains efficiency, must be able to filter it. Okay, I just explained this. This is the comparing the particle sizes in terms of the use of the HEPA filters. So, still talking about HEPA filters. HEPA filters work in 5 different ways. One of those ways is training. That is, it operates like a sieve. Are you with me? That once, every sieve has its mesh size. So the sieve, therefore, will hold down any particulate matter that is bigger than it. In this case, that of the HEPA filter is 0.3 micron. Okay. Another one is that it works by impaction. Impaction in the sense that once it has been able to stop a particle that is bigger than 0.3 micron, the other and meet the what this one they just stay there. Now, because they are open, they just stay loose. Therefore, further form a formidable barrier, not to allow other particles. Of course, that is synonymous to interception. Interception is that it serves as a guard. You want to pass a canal by diffusion method. What is diffusion? So that is also one of the process by which HEPA filters work. It works by diffusion because the particulate matter that we are talking about is coming from an area where it is more concentrated and wants to pass through to an area that is less concentrated. So therefore, what it does is that it stops the diffusion process. Okay. Now, in terms of electrostatic methodology, what we are talking about is that the particulate matter moves under a particular force. All right. So what HEPA filters do, therefore, is to break the force, and therefore do not allow them. When they don't move with that same force again, then they will not be able to pass. Okay, so I will not want to go through this physics of Brownian. I don't want to go through that physics, but yes, sir.
Where are they found? I also want to mention that in the hospital, more patients are born with prior intensive care or whatever. And these HEPA filters are also stored in those rooms that filters most of those areas microorganisms that don't land on the
in fact, that is true. Now, I want to bring an example. At the University College Hospital, if you have been to the CB lab, you will find out that all the ventilation systems are fitted with HEPA filters. I repeat, it is to ensure that nothing escapes because of the nature of TB. The two levels of engineering system that we have there is in the first place that the building itself by design is detached from the main building. It's an engineering design. Are you with me? It's detached from the main building. And the second thing is that the ventilation systems are fitted with HEPA filters. So from your observation is very correct. That's all this. Yes, sir.
The efficiency of these filters will improve as
sorry?
The efficiency, it looks like.
It looks like the more you use the HEPA filter, the efficiency increases. But you see, it gets to a point that the HEPA filter must actually be changed because it loses its efficiency after it gets refreshed. Are you with me? So that's just it. Okay. These are part of the stuff I wanted to. Of course, this is the principle of trading, that it just has a fee, that it doesn't allow it to pass. If it's a big size, like this that they are talking about. Once this particle gets here, it gets soft. That is it. Look at it. Wow. All right. So, in the case of impaction, we will see what happens. Did you see that? That's one that's already blocking the beam, and this comes with a velocity. You know the definition of velocity. Speed. Multiplied by what? Yeah, it's a force on its own. So that's how it was the impaction. This one indicates actually that there is an adhesion of the smaller particle on the bigger one like that met there. Okay. Interception. Okay. Now, we explained earlier on what intersection is all about. It's just that you are bigger than my side. You cannot go beyond this point. And this is what has happened here. Okay, this is the case of diffusion. It's this thing. So these slides are just to explain what we have explained earlier on. Okay. So the question we have come to face now is it true or false? A HEPA filter removes 5 micron particles at less than 95%. A unanimous fault. Is it also true or false that the HEPA filter removes 0.1 micron particles at greater than 99.97%? Oh. Thank you for saying that it is false. What do you have? I think, sorry? I'm stopping here. Okay. I've just been reminded that I have to stop here. So, I think we go, are we going on to for this year, I am going to stop on this movie. Dr. Stella will continue from here. Thank you for your participation.
Atama for Mr. President. Atama, Labaku.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are we having fun while we are learning? That's what Mixer is all about. You enjoy yourself and you still learn. We are still on engineering. There's something, when I got in and Dr. Lisa was talking yesterday on good laboratory work practice. I was hearing some things that didn't quite sit well with me, and I felt, okay, I need to summarize the difference between good laboratory work practice and good laboratory practice. In a nutshell, this is your take home. Is that focusing on good practices, good SOPs, procedures, and making sure that quality management systems are in place, all targeted at a particular product. And in the lab, in diagnostics, you're looking at your output, being results reliable and distributed. So it's like bringing into that aspect of putting out the reliable and the result. If it's manufacturing, you want to get out the product. If it's sanitizer meets NAFDAC recommendation, and you have done well in the industry. But the work practice is huge, and it is all focusing on safety and security. You see what we're talking about? In as much as we are ending it, we reminded ourselves, we said, is it only about safety and security? And we said, by extension, you're still coming back to quality and quality. Because quality management system, safety is part of it. So let's not get confused. They are all part of what we're supposed to be doing as safety professionals. But we need to know it's just some slightly different, because this one is talking about quality control that brings out a product. But this one is talking about biosafety and biosecurity. Okay.
Just as an addition to that, before you continue, I recall that I had a presentation in the university about good laboratory practices, and I was need to differentiate between the two. Some members of, because it was a factual presentation, some members of IPSA presented with that presentation and benefited from it, judging that their comments, both in the webinar as well as on the WhatsApp group pages. So I will also enable, I hope it's this system, I will also share with us, apart from the one I mentioned earlier on, about the various safety levels and the criteria for classification. Thank you. I will share it with you.
Okay. So we are now looking at biological safety cabinets. How many of us here have used BSCs? Okay, quite a number have used BSCs. Even if you've not used it, you know about, you've heard about BSCs, biosafety cabinets. And when you're talking about containment, it's like topping the list. If you have to deal with biological agents and you're thinking of containment, BSCs top the list. So it's a primary means of containment. That's what it means. The safety cabinets, primary means of containment. And especially when COVID came, BSCs, everybody's talking about, okay, all the centers that must deal with testing, you must have BSCs. You must have BSCs. You can't work with, without having this installed. So 3 main designs. BSCs have 3 main designs. And that's what we're going to be looking at. One is class 1 BSC, and then the other one is class 2, and then you have class 3 BSC. They are all designed to provide protection for one, personnel, environment, and then product. But there is a class that will not provide protection for product, the class 1. Talking about protection for product means protecting what you're manipulating the agents against contamination. So you can see a sample of BSC by the side there sitting. So the question here is, how is protection achieved? Just do a self-reflection. I'm going to ask 1 or 2 persons, how is protection achieved? Using a biosafety cabinet. Who wants to try? Okay. Okay, how is achieved by containment? Is there another thing you want? Who wants to add something? How is that containment achieved?
How much I can remember now. Some of them has a conflict. And unidirectional airflow. And yes, I think some of them also have good. It's such that whatever thing is within them would not, come up.
Okay, thank you. So let's look at this. Directional flow of air into cabinets. Very important. So it's not like, the air can go this way, come out this way. And that is why we frown. Some of us who are assessors. If we come into your lab and you're using BSC and it's not certified and recertified as a claim due, which means it's even more dangerous. It's even better you're working where the air can, you're safer working in an open, where windows are open, than working in a BSC that is not certified. Because the engineers that do the certification, they want to make sure that this directional flow of air is maintained the way it's supposed to be. Okay? And basically, in protecting personnel, if you're sitting and you're walking, that air doesn't have to come back to you. If not, you're in trouble. Then we talked about HEPA filter. Air has to be filtered before it goes out. We have to protect, even if no matter what we're working on, the bottom line is that we protect the personnel, we protect the environment. And the environment is so important because that is where we live and we dwell and our families. Okay? Then we have to also protect the product, laminar flow of HEPA filtered air, so that contamination will not be there. So look at protecting the product so that the product doesn't get contaminated. If you're working, you want to do culture, for instance, with a BSC. At the end of the day, you want to get what is the actual organism and not having some other things, yes, contaminants. So you're protecting that product.
Yes, please. Sometimes almost argue against this safety level 1, being as good as the online thing because I work.
How do you think as good as the
because I work with Sarah in my safety level 1. I isolated 5 the number of them. Now another man working with us, they work on all sorts of microbacteria. Another guy that worked on drug resistant microbacteria. We say level 1. Yes, and I worked there for 5 years. I never had about certification. But I coming to this our
safety
level 1
cabinet, class 1.
Yes.
The class 1. You never heard about certification. So if you never had, so you were working on with a PSC that had no certification. Okay, but one good thing you have learned now is that it is good to have certification of your BSc. That is in the same environment. One house.
You see, I think it's quite interesting. And a lot of times we work on assumption. Like sometimes when we interact with other doctors, maybe they are generation, they will tell you that, in emergency, we do this with our bare hands, we do all of these things. But the conclusion is God saves some of you. Some of you probably died for known causes.
Like all over time, you never knew nobody
in the villages. And some of you just have some level of immunity that will sustain you. So sir, the answer to that is if you work for 5 years, you sell us regime, and you never have issues. You never die. Some other persons that have mistakenly come around you and picked what they want.
There's a different level of immunity to you. Yeah, so many
and also, you might have had suboptimal exposure that would have increased your antibodies to that particular organism. So subsequent exposure, you just have mild illness, you just think I am tired. Within 2 or 3 days you will recover. But someone who had serious exposure at one time would actually knock that person off. It's just like everybody who has worked with TB. Over time, if you go and do either ELISA or what have you, man tested, that person is going to be around the window of someone that's already exposed. And so I think it's not what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I think now we know better.
Exactly.
That to protect ourselves and to protect,
our family's environment. Okay. So it's important. I know ignorance is not an excuse in law. Even when that's what you might have 10 near misses, and then finally an accident happens. So it's better we prevent even those near misses by saying it seriously. Because that is a probability that something could have happened. So a near miss is something we also don't take lightly. Yes. No. It's interactive. We said so. This is adult learning.
There's also what we call unsafe acts. The mere fact that you did it once and nothing happened does not mean that it's safe. Right? And if you go to some hospitals and universities, they may have old safety cabinets that are not functional. The alternative is to use open beds and begin to do those dangerous cultures. So at that point, what we do, people are exposed. They're exposed. So it's also an administrative issue.
Yes.
For them to provide this thing for people to work safe. The mere fact that they are doing it locally does not mean that it's safe. It's abnormal.
Okay. In many instances, people are being exposed quite a lot, and the authorities don't do anything about it. Nobody checks about it.
Nobody checks it. Sometimes they have accreditation coming. Why is it that whenever they have external people coming, everything will be good right? Okay? There's a teaching hospital in the West, as I know, like 3 months ago. They had an agency coming for mentorship and brought a mentor. And then the mentors had, you know, a walkthrough of their system and discovered that they had 3 PSCs and none of them was 3 PSCs, the teaching hospital, a very big hospital. And then when, you know, we had the opportunity to talk with the CMD, and we said, you can't do this to your people, you know? And he said, they didn't tell you, I'm a busy man. He was not pointing to the professor himself. Have you told me about this before? And why am I not aware of it? And so he started with himself.
That was the self-defense.
He started making calls himself.
Okay. Yes, I just want to add something. You see, when we tell this, there's a thing that we say everybody's business. See, there's a general attitude in Nigeria. Let me bring it down to explain why that series is trying to begin like this. How many Nigerians actually take their cars or roadworthiness checks? Or we like it, right? We perfect documents. I have in Nigeria when you hear the word let's perfect document, only say perfect documentation. We only get documents to pass applications and pass tests and avoid.
He better with the dressing now. So do all those
Nigerians we expected to ask how many people actually when you go and insure their cars. How many people actually do those roadworthiness tests? We are all responsible.
We are all responsible for the claim now. For the last thing is the ticket.
They are working with it. They will not report it. Because they are getting away with it.
Yes, because they are getting away.
Until checks or something.
Thank you. That is a pointed point that you have made now. So we're all Nigerians and all mitigating all these lapses starts with us. If you go back, those working with PSCs, go back and check your PSCs. Go back and check it. Please go back and check it. Because a lot of things, when they tell you what happens, if these things fail their test, what can happen to you? Nobody wants to die. Unfortunately, we just lost a building. We don't know what has happened. Somebody died this morning. There are engineers, there are medical engineers. They are qualified to do that. So different institutions know them, have their number. You invite them, they'll come and run a check and know what is wrong and certified. And they paste it. Once they do that, they have their own list, they paste it there. Okay, let's go on. Directional airflow in VSTs, you can see, you know, supposed to, this is a test that she's doing. This air is supposed to enter in and go up through the HEPA filter, and then we'll see what happens next. So, class 1, we talked about different classes here of VSTs. So, wow. Class, this will move but this one is so rugged that it's better than all these newer ones. Okay, so class 1 BSc. What are the features of class 1? Unfiltered room air passes over the work area. Fine, air just comes in, passes. But exhaust air is HEPA filtered before returning to the room. So that is what we're talking about. Having this HEPA filter working, and before the air comes back to the room, this one is not ducted out. The air comes back to the room. But before it comes back, there's a HEPA filter that acts as a check that clean air comes back. That's what? No product protection. So please check it somewhere because we will get to exercises that will help us differentiate, you know, when we have to select the things we have to consider. There is one negative now concerning class 1, no product protection, but it protects personnel. Okay. So we'll look at class 2. Class 2 has 2 types. Class 2 A2 BSc and then class 2 B2 BSc. So let us look at class 2 A2, the features of class 2 A2 that will enable us to know whether we will select a class 2 depending on our risk assessment and what we are, you know, the kind of agents that we are dealing with. A class 2 A2 So we will also tease out the important features in this. It has depth of phase velocity for class 2A2. 70% recirculated air. Take note, 70% recirculated air. 30% exhausted through HEPA. So it's only 30% of the air in this class 2A2 BSc. Only 30% is exhausted through HEPA. Meanwhile, 70% is recirculated. And then you have the exhaust to the room or timbo connected to external exhaust ducts. So if you look at the first picture now, the A2, cabinet with canopy, you can see the canopy. Then there's a difference between, you can see that picture you're seeing now. There is an exhaust that is going out, exhausted out, but it is not connected. The DSC is different. So from that, exhaust. So potentially, contaminated ducts are plenums under negative pressure or surrounded by negative pressure ducts and plenums. See, one important thing is that they be used for work with minute quantities of volatile toxic chemicals and tracer elements of nucleotides if they are exhausted through properly functioning exhaust canopies. So you can see the exhaust canopies. Take note that this BSc class 2A2 can do what? Work with chemicals and radionucleotides. So, I'm coming. One important thing is that it's not all the air that is exhausted out. As much as 70% is recirculated, it's only 30%. So there is a comma. There is a comma there. Yes, within. Yes, please.
Yeah, I want to comment. And while we're looking at this data, it depends on the parameter. And maybe the country, this is very like in Nigeria and in South, where we have the issue of food. Yeah, this kind of thing can also block or affect the future performance. It can, because if you put these things there in the office, whatever it is there, it can affect that future. And to affect the performance from the
when you're talking about suits, are you talking about suits inside the lab where this BSc is?
It's here outside.
Okay, environment outside where it is exhausted out.
No. Even if it's here.
You have suits inside the
yes.
You're talking about the environment.
No, in your room, if you want to like it, I thought you are not free. I thought actually you was free.
In Port Harcourt. Okay, so now that brings us to the risk assessment.
I'm telling you, that's why I say it varies from country to country, state to state, and so to so. Even when you walk in Port Harcourt early morning, do jogging, thought you are not free.
So that means that brings us to one thing. There's a slide that we are going to go to that says choosing the BSc. Which one do you choose? And there's another thing. If you're in this class since yesterday, you'll be hearing over and over because BSc is a mitigation measure. We have to do a robust risk assessment. So what the risk in Port Harcourt River State will be will be different from Abuja and from Lagos. Everything we are saying here is not one template fits all, one size fits all. Please take this home. That's a robust risk assessment. Yes. The risk assessment has to be looked at. What we are adding is it has to be also robust because we have to consider everything, including what he's talking about now, environmental factors. Yes, sorry.
If you would allow me to shift things on. Some of these things are actually universal. I think where the problem here is coming from is where the suit is actually coming from. They are not done due diligence. No way. If they are done due diligence, that is not supposed to even leave the environment of production, not to talk of the entire system. So I think that is where the
illegal, is it only illegal? Anyway, it's beyond us in this class. Because they have to take care.
What do you think we were talking about air filter and what would affect the efficiency of the filter?
Exactly. That's certification. That's certification. You're just working with yes. How would you know that the lifespan of that filter is fine?
Without certification. That is the work of the biomedical engineer. That is why the biomedical engineer is there to certify it and tell you when next I'm coming to recertify. So it's a cycle.
Even without investing I'm not working like that, so it's a bit strange to listen to this one. But I just assume for common sense that when the filter is paid, it should be an indicator. Well, in the future, let me answer that. In the future, I will tell you that this filter is not.
Okay.
So
Please.
Just know.
Please. Let me tell you the way it works by safety cabinet. You can't be a carpenter and be a tailor. In as much as if you're using a biosafety cabinet, there are also certain signals that will enable you to know, oh, maybe there's an issue with this and that. Then you can't even do anything because it's not your area. So the biomedical engineers will be the ones to come in, but I understand where you're going, you're completely right. And even when you're working with an equipment, there are signals. So for those who work, who are the people that say they work with biosafety cabinet? And there are no signals when something, so there are signals that will tell you, that you invite the professional.
There are some, those are not there are indicator lights. Yes. Some of them. So the light, if the green light is not there, tell them that something is wrong. If the red light shows them, so these are indicators. You can use it to check the efficiency of the specific.
And there are certain small things the engineer are doing in the program where there's one who works with NCDC. Or the work with NCDC. There's innocent. He's a medical engineer. He's a young man, but he's so perfect. And I've been in a program where he also facilitated and before was to come and teach people. NCDC staff, because we are having that program with them about my safety cabinet. And I remember him showing them how to even identify all these lights. Now, he projected, this light will come on. If it comes on, look at the error. Some of them, you can just, be able to handle. Then others, you have to, it's even their staff, permanent staff. Okay.
Let me drag this a little more outside. Yes, these things are for standardization and to be sure that you're doing the right. But sometimes the balls will come. I think that's the question you're asking. I remember I was consulting for a laboratory in Lagos at the middle of the pandemic, and the biosafety cabinet was 2 months due for recertification. And we're doing a lot of engineering for new reconstruction to make sure that the laboratory is fit for COVID assay. Now, this is what I did. Now, the filter, there's supposed to be trapping in here. So I went in there, put some papers on nylon, expecting that it should trap. It's not trapping. Something is wrong. Now, I said, okay, let's work with organisms that we know. Put on your UV light. Now, UV light is supposed to be on for maybe 30-40 minutes maximum more now. It's supposed to kill bacteria and even spores. We put it on for 2 hours. Now, the next morning, I said, okay, please take swab from this safety cabinet. And we did that, we grew also. In fast culture, we grew a virus. And so I just told them, I said, see, for me, it's not about money. I think this is outrightly unsafe. You shut down. And they weren't happy with it. Now, what did we now do? I said, okay, we want to make money. And then we also need to manage this pandemic. We try and look for UV lights. We were able to get, we were on the 3rd one before we were able to get the one that could work. We removed the slab and cleaned. And we saw that the thing we tested for, they were working. And they've been running with that now. They only came for risk classification, I think about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, when we feel the burden is going down, then we can shut down for 2-3 days to allow for proper things to be done. So if that answers your question, I think you may get a point that things like that may come.
Okay. So let's move on.
I just want to, I keep going back to this Nigeria.
Yeah, it's something like that. I'm also going back to my time.
In fact, because we like to break down materials in Nigeria. That's why what it does. That's why every equipment. How many of us are actually when the manual of our homes? You see, that person cabinet becomes the manual.
Of course, it's comes in the manual. They won't read it.
Most equipment when they come, the manual will tell you how to do preventive maintenance by yourself. The mandatory schedule maintenance is what the engineer does. Or breakdown maintenance. The preventive maintenance, if you look at your manual, it tells you this is a filter. After so many number of hours, it needs to be replaced. They don't even they like. Some, like Prof said, the advanced ones will even show you, they will help you as an aid to indicate. But the older ones, they will tell you after so number of hours, irrespective of whether it is locked or not, change it.
And there are also SOPs that
SOPs. So quality, if you have a good quality management system, you will look at when you need to replace this thing. Your AC, your house. How many of us actually make this? They are like a filter. That's it. You understand now? It has a filter. Most of us will wait until the AC stops working. We want in the car. Yes, you want your car. So because we don't have a culture of being preventive maintenance. Most equipment that come now, your manuals will tell you how to. It's a DIY. Do it yourself. Preventive maintenance. We don't do it. So most times when things go wrong now, we start looking for the engineer. Engineer will come and tell you, say, boy, you could have prevented this thing.
Exactly.
And made your work cheaper. Now, what are we running from? Cost. Cost.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know. When you run for that cost, eventually break down material.
Thank you. I think we have done justice to this. Our take home now is that even as professionals, there are certain things, there are manuals, there are SOPs, there are things you can do even before inviting the engineer. Preventive maintenance, that you need to do. So we need to understand the equipment that we work with. All right. A small announcement, please.
I wanted to shift this thing as part of the discussion. We actually have a challenge in terms of the number and availability of our medical engineers. Are you with me? I know that in Nigeria, for instance, there are very few. In Africa, I know they are much fewer than we need. And that is why the IFBA is trying to raise more of biosafety experts that will also tailor towards biomedical engineering. One of the grants that we secured to be executed during the conference is on selection and maintenance of biosafety cabinets. Yes, we have posted it on our various platforms for people to apply, and people have actually applied. That is just to tell us that it is also the concern of certain global bodies for us to have people in this area. Then I also wanted to announce to us, in case your facility needs such biomedical engineers, we have one that is in top demand all over Africa, to the best that I know, and is a member of IPSA, actually stationed in Abuja. He used to work for one IFBA, but it's now on Austin, but it's now on it's a household name. You understand? So what I have to mention is that some of our facilities, we actually need people to come and even give certain talks in this area. Like those things that we are supposed to be doing with respect for our engineering controls. In fact, in NIPSA program, you remember
Austin always the last conference,
yes,
part of the pre-conference.
Yes, very well done. So we use this opportunity to also encourage you to pick up interest in biomedical engineering and in fact engineering controls. It's a very green field.
Yes, and lots of money.
Exactly.
Like person goes to other African countries, they'll be calling him up and down. So the photographer is here. We announced yesterday that we're going to take official photograph today, and then our tea is getting cold. So what we'll do before we look at timber versus hard dot or BS6, let us take our photograph now that the faces are still fresh. Then we'll have our tea. Then we'll come back. Would that be okay?
You've not taken us, so.